It is with pleasure that I introduce to you our next speaker for our new Satsang Saver, Bhadraji, Africa. And she's going to share with us the role of one's vows in the spiritual process and what it means to be a disciple.
First, I want to start with the purpose and a definition of Satsang as instructed by the Guru. The exclusive purpose and aim of Satsang Seva is to generate and cultivate a deeper, comprehensive, and consistent understanding of the Dharma. It is not the goal of Satsang Seva to help others understand you, although this may result as a byproduct from your rendering Satsang Seva. The goal of Satsang Seva must, emphasis on must, be to enhance our understanding of the Dharma and the teachings, and to generate inspiration and motivation for practice. And the Satsang definition from the philosophy of the masters, it literally means true association with a saint or perfect master, and this is external Satsang. Association of the soul with Shabbat within is the internal Satsang. The highest form of Satsang is to merge with Shabbat and to engage in the prescribed meditation. When a congregation is addressed by a master, that is also Satsang. Even to think about him and his teachings is Satsang. And I will reiterate my consideration, which was taken from January Kula considerations of 2001. The role of one's vows in the spiritual process, and what it means, and I added what it means to be a disciple. And the reason that I chose this consideration, it started out with my trying to find the consideration. And what I did, I just opened this book of considerations that Mukherjee gave us. And when I opened the book, the first time I opened it, the page that I went to was Special Considerations, March, I believe that was March of 2001, and those considerations were related to the events that took place with Guru Murti and Kunsa, and their resulting leaving the house. And so the next time, when my time, I didn't want my time to creep up on me and be, last minute trying to do this thing. So the next time I picked up the book and again opened it to the same page. And so I said, well, you can sit here and play around with this thing, or you can see that this is, the master wants you to take a look at this. So I looked at it. I really looked deeply into it. And when I saw what I needed to see, or what I thought I needed to see, feeling that I had gone deeply enough, I called the master and talked to him about it. And he told me, he said, go deeper. Go deeper. So the resulting consideration was the role of vow, because what I had seen in going deeper was that for the past 23 years, June 1st, that I was initiated. Over the course of that time, I have not consistently, for 23 years, or for 2 years during that time, kept all of my vows. And those vows include my commitment in the relationship with my master. It's everything that he gives us. Because when you get the vows at initiation, you get so much more. He gives you the keys. He gives you the gift. So what I want to do is share with you my insights and a confession in the form of an email that I sent to the master. If I can find it. The first time I picked up and opened the booklet of considerations, and this, I'm not giving the whole email, just this part. The page I skimmed was special considerations for March, the set of considerations you issued that were related to Guru Murti's and Kunsa's ego drama resulting in their leaving the house. Again, last night after deciding there was no time to waste or linger, I have begun working on a consideration. I opened the booklet once again without paging through it to the March special considerations. So I looked at this and I said, you can sit here and play this game with yourself about looking for the one you want, or you can go forward with the considerations that the master has given you. Looking deeper into as I read the considerations, I saw a thread running through and connecting all of the events that had transpired with me from the time that I too had done the same exact thing that Guru Murti and Kunsa had done in the spring of 2000. Although it was done behind the scenes and not out in the open for everybody to see, it was still the same thing. I became angry and hell-bent on hurting you. I'm talking to the master. When you called me out on my bullshit, when you called me an idiot, compassion over the phone in the presence of Guru Dasa. The whole point of it was that you had given me instructions for the satsang at my house. We used to have satsangs Friday night at my house, and some of you will remember, Radasi, you'll remember this particular night because you said to me, you need some help. Okay. The whole point of it was that you had given me instructions for the satsang at my house to call Guru Murti and Kunsa out on their bullshit because they always had excuses, letting themselves off the hook and not wanting to sit because we sat for an hour after the discourse for whoever was giving the satsang. Not wanting to sit, projecting, blaming others for their own inadequacies and lives. I did not do what you asked me to do. And then I turned on you, just like he did. Having seen this, I am prepared and wish to strip naked in front of the entire Sangha, telling the truth about how I have been, using the March special considerations and events to do so. To also tell them how I created the drama that recently took place over the lifetime of my children and where I have continued to cling and hold on to them, only to discover via the physical altercation, in brackets, seemingly physical altercation, perpetrated against me by my oldest son, who will be 31 years old in March. That what I have been clinging to does not even exist. They are not mine. They are not children at all. All I have is memories. As a matter of fact, I don't even know these individuals I call my sons. I wish to tell the Sangha how I apologized to my son after he attacked me, as I saw how I deliberately manipulated this drama by allowing my own ego into the situation. I say here, by allowing my own ego to rip and go crazy. How I went to him the next day, immediately the next day, which was January 31st, New Year's Eve this year, telling him, I must apologize to you, as I did not demonstrate in that moment that I was called to take control and transcend, drop my ego bullshit. To let him yell all the obscenities calling me out of my name as loudly as he pleased, because I had just not said, because had I just not said anything in that moment, my silence would have shut it all down anyway. To tell them, the same guy, how I saw during this event all of the ego drama of the world, how murders take place within families, because it was this scene that compelled me to do whatever it took to keep my oldest son from possibly killing or being desirous of hurting his younger brother, or vice versa. I had called my 2 younger sons after the attack, this attack on me, telling them what he had done, knowing full well that this was going to heat them and, give them an excuse. And when I saw this, immediately after the attack, I saw the Dharma, I saw the ego, my ego, I saw all of the Maya and the delusion, and I saw ego in action, and I saw the Dharma in action, and I saw the most profound thing that I saw in that moment, because lives were at stake, was that I could have stopped it. I could have, going deep into it and looking at how I felt when he disrespected me. My ego was like, don't you dare. I birthed you into this world. You don't disrespect me. That's the ego talking. But it's dangerous. It's violent. It's ugly. So when I'm talking to him, it started out with him telling me that, because he had moved into my home, I let him move into my home knowing full well that he was irresponsible. So I created this whole situation, okay? I did not tell him the truth. I didn't tell him, you are not ready, and I will not let you step into this position until you show me that you're ready. And there's a lot more connected to it, but this is the essence of it. And so he came to my house because he's trying to get married or trying to live with a woman that he wants to marry, who I told him that he could not live with her in my house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The anger escalated. He started yelling and screaming, and I started yelling and screaming. Get your ass out of my house. You will not disrespect me. And I'm talking about 6 feet, 180 pounds. Okay, what can I do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? What I did after the fact. But I knew I could have shut it down then. And I felt that rush that we get when we angry rising up in me, and I stepped into my ego consciously. And I'm making a point of that because the bottom line with that and what I saw, and I will attempt to demonstrate that, my understanding of the bottom line that I will share with you, I wish to try to demonstrate it with the Dharma and the teachings like the Guru asked us to do, to not give our opinions, but to show, to use your understanding, or to line your understanding up with the teachings. Okay. And one of the considerations related to the event with my son is a quote from my master and from Master Bhagwan, where Bhagwan is saying here in reference to some of the considerations. He says, Maharaji used to say, no one belongs to us, nor do we belong to anyone else. Attachment, which is what I had to see in that moment, that I was attached and clinging to something that was not real. I have something. Attachment means I have something or someone. It is the feeling that someone or something belongs to me, is mine. And then we bind or enslave ourselves to those relationships and things, but it is all an illusion, Maya. Realizing that nothing and no one belongs to you, one becomes free. Spiritual freedom means to be free from such attachment. Beloved, let the reality and truth of your pitiful condition sink deeply within you. And on the basis of such revelations, be moved to cultivate a spiritual condition and state of being where you are no longer overwhelmed and frightened by the death of your ego mind, but rather truly understand and willingly transcend it, and thus become free of your suffering right here, right now, in this very body, in this very lifetime, in this very world. And so going back to December 31st, which was the day that was truly a gift for me, because, so timely, so perfect, that this had taken place the day before, and the master gives this full-day workshop, and he says to us what my master has been saying to me for 23 years, to put your life in the palm of your hand and to really see your condition, and to do this on a daily basis. And when you do this on a daily basis, then you will not forget, you will not misbehave, you will not take the risk of letting your ego prevail and lose your soul. This is the risk that I've been taking for 23 years. Okay. And the master says, the fundamental causes of weakness in the sadhana of most devotees are related to or rooted in the lack of force and seriousness of the vows they took at the time of initiation. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand the commitment. I didn't understand, nor did I take seriously the gift, the most precious gift that was given to me at the time of my initiation. That all we have to do is follow the instructions. Is to do what the master tells us to do. It's that simple. He says to look at your life and your living and see your pitiful condition. I saw my pitiful condition. I'm not done seeing, because I must continue to follow the instructions of the master on a daily basis, looking at my life and my living to see if it's lining up with the truth. Our child beloved, your word, your vows must be your bond. And he's not saying anything any different than my master said to me. When I got initiated, I got my instructions. And I followed my instructions for a little while. And then I began to edit. And okay, I'd be a vegetarian. I never had a problem being a vegetarian. Okay, I go to Satsang. Ain't did no savor. What are the 4 S's? Sat Guru, Satsang, savor, and sadhana. I don't know if that's the order, but I was in violation because I wasn't doing it all. Okay, and then the vows: live a moral life, practice ahimsa, right? That's being a vegetarian and practicing ahimsa. I mean, that's a pretty broad thing there, where you won't eat no dead flesh, but you'll go violate somebody else. You know, you'll let your ego take over. You know, you will violate your master. This is what I did. My master was great. He was beautiful. He lived an exemplary life of love, devotion, compassion. I mean, and he walked the talk. And I violated him every time I did not keep my vows. Every time I edited the teachings. Master Bhagwan says, in relation to Bhakti Kula Considerations of May 2002, ego, the sum total of fear. In my response and my understanding to what I too had done to the Master, relative to what Kunsa and Guru Murti have done. And I'm not putting them down because I'm worse. I am worse because I've been around for too long. Too long. He says, nobody comes to the path in order to become enlightened, although everybody claims they do. But rather, we have all come to the path consciously or unconsciously in search of a higher and more sophisticated way to reinforce and glorify our egos. He says, however, sooner or later, and sooner, if we are lucky enough to have a kick-ass guru, we will come to a rude awakening. We will soon discover that the path is not a safe harbor for our egos. We will soon discover that the guru is not here to console our egos, but rather to shatter them. Not here to reinforce our false spiritual images, but to demolish them. As one writer puts it, the guru gets in your face. He got in my face. He embarrassed me. And I ran. And it was so ugly what I did. And it spilled over in every part of my life. And he still loves me. And he still has my back. And he is so compassionate, Master Bhagwan. He says, when I finally apologized to him, and I guess it was 4 or 5 months later down the road, he says, beloved, I will never hurt you like that again. That's compassion. He loved me enough to tell me the truth. He will deeply offend your ego, and the greater the ego, the greater the offenses. The path demands that we give up our ego-based fears, our attachments, and enter into the greatest battle of our lives, a battle of jihad for the liberation of our souls from the clutches of mind and maya. for the first time in my life, I saw Maya and understood Maya. I mean, 23 years of delusion. I had not done the work. I had not investigated, because the masters invite us to investigate. They invite us to do the same experiment and achieve the same results. And this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. I want to read part of my understanding to you, and hopefully I won't keep repeating myself. I'm a little nervous, just a little bit. This is really a challenge for me. But I tell you, after having looked at myself, I can sit here and I can talk and not be so nervous anymore. The master says, challenge. Challenge your fears. But when you when you really sit with your fear, when you sit with it, and I'm saying, sit with your fear, the master is so right when he says, it just dissolves. Because I thought about it this morning, I'm like, now how is this gonna work out? Because I got a history of fear, of speaking to groups from the time that I was a little girl. And I would do it the way that I managed to do it, shaking, turning red as a beet. I would manage to get through it because I would think about my grandmother or my mother or my father. They're going to kill me if I don't do this. I got to get it. My teacher loves me so much, and she gave me this great piece to do. Right, yeah, right, okay. So I thought about it, and I said, and I saw, but you don't have nothing to be afraid of, because you're telling the truth now, and you've got a little experience telling the truth and seeing the result of telling the truth, and that the fear was unfounded, that it was unreal, that it was Maya, and that I'm in the midst of spiritual seekers just like myself. Well, maybe not just like myself. I mean, some of y'all might be more serious than I am. But we all got the same thing to do. And we've been around and with each other enough where I finally feel that I can lay my life, I can lay down and let you I can take my clothes off with you. And so in seeing that, I'm able to talk with you because you're my family, my true family. I found that I have not consistently kept all of my vows for the whole time that I have been initiated. When you don't keep your vows, the consequences are your sadhana, your understanding, and your commitment are inconsistent, weak, or non-existent. This became apparent when I doubted Master Bhagwan. Now, it took me some time to get to this, because my ego was in action. I had little faith, and I will say that I had no faith. If I had been diligent and consistent in doing that which my master, Maharaj Charan Singh Ji, had given me at the time of initiation, diligent in looking at my own life and examining observing my true condition, I would not have doubted Master Bhagwan. Behaving so ugly whenever my ego was challenged. And considering from spring 2000 to the retreat of 2002, could you play that tape? I was inspired by the Master to face the reality that the fear of dying before reaching my spiritual goal. This thrust me into looking and seeing that I had been editing and in violation of my commitment to my Guru. And on the last day of this year, December 31st, I was inspired by Master Bhagwan's Satsang to go deeper and to see my true condition, to sit face to face with my fears. The Midnight Satsang of Retreat 2002, and I do have a tape that I, okay.
So you gonna play a little Rumi for us with that? You might want to save your film below. We have to realize how very fortunate it is that we have another day here to work at the fulfillment of our spiritual goal. Now, I talked to you about impermanence a little bit this morning, but I have talked about impermanence over the many years now. And we have begun to recognize the impermanent nature of things, people, events, situations, so forth and so on. But the most profound and critical insight into impermanence is to see the impermanence of your own self. That's the first and most profound and the most transforming insight into impermanence, and that you are also impermanent, that you will not be forever. And to be grateful that we have another day. When you reflect and think about it, over the course of the last 24 hours, millions of spiritual seekers have lost the human body. Have you ever thought of it? You're not the only spiritual seekers on the planet in pursuit of self and God realization. There are millions of people treading all of the many variety of spiritual paths, involved in all of the different kinds of yoga. As sincere, perhaps even more sincere than any of us. Who today is not here. Yesterday was their last day on the planet. Of course, they may not have known. Perhaps they were in an airplane crash somewhere, a car accident somewhere. Many of them postponing till today what they knew they should have did yesterday. And here at midnight and into the dawn of a new day, they no longer have an opportunity to fulfill.
Glad I didn't save my tape, did I?
So, having looked at, having heard the Master's appeal, and I'm sure that there are those of you who were there at the retreat who remember that song. And the way that it shook me and moved me. That song began that purging, that cleansing, that it made me look at myself. I mean, it was like that. I had no recourse but to look. I mean, and instantly, I saw what I saw at that, when I was sitting in that satsang. I saw my master, and all of this time that he has given me, all of this profound grace, and I didn't even deserve it. I still don't. I mean, and I got abundant grace. And the reality of my death was up in my face, and that I hadn't done nothing. All of this time, I just wasted. I've been wasteful. You know, I've been off the hook. And the other thing that I wanted to make reference to was, again, back to New Year's Eve, which was so timely after this event that took place with my son. And that same day that we had the workshop, I was gifted, the master gave me the gift of an overnighter so that I could begin right away to work on that set of considerations that he had given us, the most profound being to look at your life and your living and the method by which he gave us to do that, how he outlined that. So I went to the center that night brokenhearted, broke down, brokenhearted. My son, my oldest son. I left the center free and clear because I saw my bullshit. I saw my condition. I really looked because at that point, at this age and at that point after seeing, it's like you're gonna see because you can begin to uncover and look and see. That's one thing. We can keep doing that. Okay, yeah, I see that. As soon as you get through looking, or you can see, and then you can do the work. You can see and do what it takes every day. Every day. And I still am not on the level where I'm seeing. I'm doing this work every day. I don't forget. It's with me. Because once you begin to do this, you don't forget to do the work. You opt out of doing the work. And I'm guilty. But I see clearly now that it's the simplicity of it is that you get the initiation, you do the work, you do all of the work. You keep all of your vows. It's foolproof. You do it. And after seeing this, the master said to me, he said, when you start telling the truth, he said, then, it shows up like some of the Christian mystics where they look for adversity and they look for challenge. And they hang upside down on the cross daily. And I listened to, I heard what he said, and I'm like, can you do that? Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to hurt? It's like, give me some pain, Lord, every day. And when I first looked at that, and I'm still looking at that, and I was like, oh, hell no. I don't think I want to look for adversity and challenge. Now, this was in the beginning of January, after going through changes with my Bhakti Kula mate here, Guru Mukherjee. We was battling, okay? Because she called me to my bullshit, and she said, I want you, your life and your living ain't lining up. So I started doing that work. It's been a year, and then it put me in a position where I had to tell the truth and not console her. And I couldn't do it. And the master called me to my bullshit again. He said, you got to tell the truth, beloved. I told the truth, and upon telling her the truth, I mean the raw truth, because I'm telling myself the same truth. Every time I talk to her, I'm talking to me. Then I was like, oh, this is some good stuff here. You know, maybe you can do this. You know, maybe you can do this. But I'm not eluding myself. I'm not deluding myself about it. I know that it's going to take work, and it's going to take, when I'm in there in the kitchen, and I'm on the phone, and I'm cleaning, I still got to stay in the process. When I'm at work, and I'm going to resource fairs, and I'm talking to strangers, and I'm challenged every step of the way to be the Dharma. And this is what it takes. I have chosen some quotes or passages from various traditions or various mystics. In my best efforts, because I'm working on eliminating that word try, in my best efforts to line my understanding up with the teachings, which are consistent across all traditions. The first quotes that I have are from Sarabhasha. And this is the Radhaswami teachings. Let the mind and the Satguru stand before you. If you obey the Guru, you overpower the mind. But if you follow the mind, you turn your face away from the Guru. Whoever has the pain of love will choose to follow the Guru. But one who has no fear of offending the Guru will be carried away with the currents of the mind. Okay, where are you? I guess I eliminated that. The next one is from the Five Jewels. Nomo Dharma Bhaya. I take refuge in the teachings when I am overwhelmed with confusion, doubt, and beset with negative tendencies and evil inclinations. May the teachings cleanse my mind. May the power of the teachings fill me up so that I can obtain enlightenment from my sorrow and sufferings, not only for my sake, but for the sake of all sentient beings. Bhagwan Ra, Africa. And the next, I have a poem from Hafiz, which is translated by Deepak Chopra, and some of you will know Hafiz as Shams. The name of the poem is Losing Yourself. To really lose yourself is like holding a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. It takes courage. Facing the truth means tying a bag over your head until you suffocate. It takes faith. You have to be brave to follow God's tracks into the unknown, where so many new things overwhelm and panic you. But trust me and plunge the jewel dagger into your heart. This is what it takes to lose yourself. There is no other path back to God. I have a poem from Rumi, The Path of Love, poem number 2. Don't go away, come near. Don't be faithless, be faithful. Find the antidote in the venom. Come to the root of yourself. spiritual gems number 115. A boy is fond of play and is averse to going to school, while the parents wish him to sit in school with the teacher and study. The boy does not know the value of studies. Play gives him pleasure, and an occasional shock or knock he does not mind. Parents use threats and inducements. They cooperate with the teacher, and the teacher's task is easy. By and by, the boy learns the value of study, and as he gets disciplined, he does both, study and play, and enjoys both, and in time, he is a scholar and an athlete. In a way, similar is the position of an entrant in the University of Spirit. The Guru wishes him to open and enter the 10th gate and make contact with Nam, but he is fond of play in the 9 portals of the body. He gets enjoyment in this play. Setbacks and mishaps in his play, he considers as part of the game of life. The value of Nam is not known to him. The Guru induces him to go in by discourses on the grandeur of Nam. His is a difficult task where he gets no support from parents. The parents, Kal and Maya, do not wish the entrant soul to enter the University of Spirit, 10th gate or 3rd eye. What to say about contacting Nam? The parents, Kal and Maya, allure him with easy temptations and create worries, sickness, and other adversities to confound his intellect. Their function is to keep the soul away from Nam. Slowly, the entrant grasps the new position, and slowly the entrant realizes the true worth of his parents. Slowly he begins to dissociate from them, and slowly he takes the Guru as his real benefactor, and slowly he leaves the 9 portals and makes his approach toward the 10th to make contact with Nam and work on Nam. When the wild nature has been disciplined and the entrant has started his studies in the University of Spirit, the going in is easy, and a new kind of play inside the 10th gate starts giving enjoyment, compared with which the worldly enjoyments and allurements are trash. It is true, therefore, as you say, that in preliminary stages the progress is slow. To give up worldly pleasures, to control the senses, and bring the attention in one center by controlling the wild runs of the mind while still alive and kicking is not an easy task. But what is it that with love and faith man cannot accomplish? Number 174. If one's faith is firm and unshakable, and one daily gives time to the practices and has no worldly desires, then there is no power which can bring one back to this plane. There is no rebirth for such souls. Birth is for those who die weeping with desires unfulfilled. Desires are the cause of suffering, and he alone is poor who has unfulfilled desires. He who is free from desires is richest. All desires arise in the mind, and when the mind is subdued and is merged in the sound current, the game is won. Soul is enveloped by the mind, and mind by the body. Soul is powerless in the clutches of mind, and mind is helpless before the senses. A beautiful object attracts it, and sweet music holds it. The soul within is pure, but suffers on account of its association with the mind. While this association lasts, the cycle of change and births will continue, whether the body is material, astral, or causal. The causal form has a longer duration, but is also subject to decay. In Sahansdal Kanwal, the soul's connection is with astral forms, and in Chakuti it is with causal forms. When reversion from the causal form takes place, the soul comes to the human form or lower down, depending upon its spiritual status. A child goes to school and attends class. He is entitled to promotion if he has been doing his work regularly and is fit for promotion. Is fit. On the other hand, if he has been attending the class but does not learn, he will be kept back. Suppose instead of learning his work, he develops bad habit and consequently loses in efficiency. Surely he will be put back to a lower grade. And Master Bhagwan spoke on this during the memorial service for the Radasi. In the same way, if a man during his lifetime does the actions becoming a man, he will be kept as man in the next birth. If he has attempted to seek the source of his being and received the instructions from a master, he will be promoted to spiritual regions and there is no rebirth. But if instead he has done the actions of animals and not of man, he will go back to the class of animals. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Bhagwan Ra's Wisdom of the Sands. A stream from its source in faraway mountains, passing through every kind and description of countryside, at last reaches the sands of the desert. Just as it had crossed every other barrier, the stream tried to cross this one too. But it found that as it flowed into the sands, its waters simply disappeared. It was convinced, however, that its destiny was to cross this desert as well, and yet there was no way. Now a hidden voice coming from the desert itself whispered, "The wind crosses the desert, and so can a stream." The stream objected that it was only dashing itself against the sands and being absorbed, that the wind could fly. And this was why it could cross the desert, but how can I? But hurtling in your own accustomed way, you cannot get across. You will either disappear or become a marsh. You must allow the wind to carry you over to your destination, replied the desert. But how can this happen? Asked the stream. By allowing yourself to be absorbed into the wind, the desert replied. This idea was not acceptable to the stream. It did not want to lose its individuality. And once having lost it, how was one to know if it could ever be regained? The wind, said the whisper, performs this function. It takes up the water and carries it over the desert, and then lets it fall again. Falling as rain, the water again becomes a river. But how can I know that this is true? Protested the stream. It is so, replied the whisper. And if you do not believe it, you cannot become more than a quagmire. And even that could take many, many years. In any case, it will certainly not be the same as being a stream. But asked the stream, can I not just stop here and remain the same stream I am today? You cannot in any way remain the same, whispered the desert sands. Movement is your very nature. It will never cease until your true destination has been reached. When the stream deeply considered this, echoes of the truth began to arise in its mind. Yes, this is true. He understood that this was the only real and intelligent thing to do, and the stream raised its vapors into the welcoming arms of the wind, which gently and easily bore it upwards and along, letting it fall softly as soon as it reached the roof of the distant mountains. It was now able to remember its prior dilemma in the desert, and now realized the goal of its long journey, its true identity and the deathless nature of its true being. And this is why it is said that the way by which the stream of life crosses the desert of this world is written in the sand. Therefore, beloved, listen to the wisdom of the sand. There's a question and answer here, and Bhadra asks. The line of the poem says, but how do I know? Do it? And Bhagwan says, that is the only way to know. That is the whole point, to really understand it.
There is no answer to how do I know. The answer is existential. Do it. There is no other way to know. Bhagwan says, no, Naeem Akbar Mahaseva asked, in the story there is sand or the wind, but who was it that whispered? And Master Bhagwan says, the whisper? I am the whisper. The whisper is really deep, a living scripture, if you look at the metaphors and their relationship. Haven't all of the great scriptures said that they have been whispering to you this truth? With no exception, right? The Dhammapada, the Gita, the Quran, the Bible, the Zen Avestas, the Sutras, the Vedas, the Upanishads. All are whispering the same thing I am telling you. Except I scream at you sometimes. This is the only way you can cross this desert. You must be absorbed into the teachings, into the Dharma, into the Master, into the wind, and sacrifice your individuality to save your essence. It is so. Asdamo Sanatan. And finally, I have a few quotes from my master in his excerpts from its words. This little booklet is titled Words Eternal, and these are excerpts from his letters and discourses between 1957 and 1979. A Satsangi, a Radasi, should form the habit of facing life as it comes and to adjust to the debt of karmas cheerfully and gracefully. Try to realize that the Master is always with you and you are constantly under his protection. Please turn to the Lord for peace and bliss. Attend regularly to your meditation, which is the true source of all happiness. You have to give meditation practical shape in your daily routine, in your daily dealings with people. We should try to behave always in a manner as to bring honor to us and credit to our Satsang and the Master. Please remember that great things are not accomplished quickly. They require time and effort to achieve them. We have to pay the price for everything. Are we ready to pay the price required for God realization? No price is too much for this great boon. We have to overcome our weaknesses by strong willpower, and that is strengthened by attending regularly to bhajan and simran. Simran is a great power, and it is this that will take us to the radiant form of the Master, whence the true sound will start. A true devotee should never deviate, like I did, from the path of righteousness. Give some time daily to the study of Sant Mat literature. Give some time daily, as Master Bhagwan has instructed, to reading the Dharma, to reading the teachings. Ours is a lifelong battle. Face the onslaughts of the mind like a brave warrior. Do not lay down your arms before the enemy. Help will come when you make up your mind. Help will come when you make up your mind to resist the evil thoughts. Ups and downs come into the life of everyone in this world, but a Satsangi, but a Radasi,
who always has the protecting hand of the master to guide him, should never lose heart under any circumstances. You should valiantly fight the battle of life. Live a simple, happy, and relaxed life. Laziness should be avoided at all costs, for it cuts at the root of meditation. Do I need to read that again?
Yes.
Live a simple, happy, and relaxed life. Laziness, sloth, should be avoided at all costs, for it cuts at the root of meditation. It cuts at the root of your sadhana. Never compromise with the 4 sacred pledges. Never compromise with the vows to your master. Never compromise with the 4 sacred pledges taken before the Lord at the time of initiation. That which takes us nearer to God is virtuous, and that which tends to drive us away from Him is sin. In no case ever miss your daily meditation. And last, do not worry unnecessarily about your failings. He must have written this just for me. Forget the past. Live and meditate in the present. And do not worry about the future. If you sincerely realize that you have been doing something that a Satsangi, something that a Radasi should not do, it is never too late to mend. The Lord's grace is always ready to help us. Worry never helped anybody. Do we have the master in rendering this Satsang Seva? I don't know if everyone here was here last week. We're in the process of establishing a new format under the guidelines of Master Bhagwan for Satsang. And so when we, the format is that we begin promptly from 11 o'clock. We end at 1 o'clock. And we ideally should have 15 minutes of a group meditation after the discourse. After the question and answers. And he impressed upon me and Guru Mukherjee that this Seva is so critical to our understanding, having a mutual and consistent understanding of the Dharma, and that when we present our consideration or our topic, that we should do our best to leave our opinions out of it. And I'm saying that to say that I wish to open the floor to all of you, your comments, your insights, whatever, so that all of us can share and get to that understanding that the Master wants us to have. The floor is open. Any questions? Anything? Anybody? Radasi.
They're getting older, whether they are older, and I still want to remember them when they were young, and I guess trying to keep that attachment going. So, can you help me with that?
Well, you're calling it an attachment, and that's what it is. It's they, like I said, and I don't. Maharaji has talks about that. I don't have the specific quote that he gives us, but the essence of what I was just reading, live a happy, simple life. Okay, Master Bhagwan
and I didn't bring that quote with me, where he says, if you want to add to your practice, then practice letting go throughout the day. You know, practice letting go on a moment-to-moment basis. Practice letting go of events and things and people. You know, with my son, when I realized, you know, after all of this drama and the potential, the life-threatening circumstances, which jarred me back to help me see, and this is what it usually takes for us. We got to go through tragedy, you know, to see, and hopefully, you know, after that tragedy, you won't go and forget about it. You know, they say time heals all, you know, but you want to keep it present. You want to keep the lesson present. And the lesson is, like I said, I don't know him. He is that. The attachment is not. It's just a memory. It's not a present reality. I don't know him. I know the nature of ego, but I don't know all of the things that he's not a little boy anymore. And that's what I was clinging to. And what I found when I left that center, and I was clear and I saw that, was that, okay, now you've got to let go. Because I was like, the risk that I took was that, I mean, he was so hell-bent that I was wrong. He wouldn't apologize to me, so I'm like, I may never see him again. My whole life flashed before me. My mother, the things that I had done to my mother, that I did to my own mother. I saw all of this stuff, and so I didn't want just not wanting a life lost because of my unconsciousness. Because I have to do what the master tells me to do. It helps me to remember to let go. And when that situation arises again, it helped me to remember what I just went through and letting them go. And also letting them go is telling them the truth. It's showing them the truth. You've got to be a responsible human being too. You've got to take some responsibility in this thing. If I stroke you, because when I apologized to him, I told him that I was wrong for not doing the teachings and controlling my ego and transcending my ego. I didn't apologize to encourage him that what he did was right. I just apologized for what I had done and gave him the message, you know, you got to be a responsible human being. You have got to do the right thing, and the way that you do that, you know, I have to model that for you. And because we all gonna die. And another thing that comes up for me is that when I say memory, I mean on a moment-to-moment basis. Right now, all of you are here in my face when I walk out the door, you will be a memory too. And that's just the way, that's the impermanent nature of things. I don't know if this is helping you to understand.
I wanted to say that I've asked some of those same questions, and in light of the satsang that you gave, and in light of the satsang that I had with Kete Ra the other night, is that those questions really are a result of our not wanting to do the work, because the Dharma provides the answer for every situation. And I recall the Guru saying that you ask yourself questions, and I've read Maharaji and Dr. Liv, he say, do that which pleases the Guru, and do not do that which does not please the Guru, and do them both diligently. So when you find yourself in a situation, you know, if you're not in the process, if you don't have some form of the Dion budget or mantra with you and you don't know what to do, you ask yourself that question, and whatever that you do, you know if it pleases the guru, then you do it, and if it don't pleases the guru, and I don't know, but that's just an understanding that
Right,
using the teachings to
Right.
answer questions.
that's right. It goes right back to what was said earlier, that if you follow the instructions, if you don't edit, if you don't, okay, well, I do, be selective about, well, I do this part, but I ain't gonna do this. If you do everything that the guru tells you to do, and that means to fight the tendency to not do it, that he's telling you fight. When that, because you can feel it when it's coming up. It takes practice. But ultimately, that's the bottom line. Do what the guru, because I don't know nothing about this stuff. I told you for 23 years I got initiation and still didn't know, because I was disobedient and I was following my senses and my emotions and my mind.
Well, I was so timely that we did talk about this, and I'm going to request for the tape for the purposes of the Satsang that we get a parenting a workshop. But I think for me, in this area, being a mother, fairly new mother, and at the time that I became a mother, and having the guru there with me at all times, of course, how much I've actually lived the teachings will be tested if I live long enough, I'm sure, as a parent. But I would say that with the attachment factor, I try to look at it from a standpoint of, because you are in the moment, and I think if I'd had kids that are older and didn't get that wisdom or that teaching is probably so ingrained with the attachment, but when I had him, I was trying, I'm still certainly going to be attached, but at the same time, I'm trying to detach, on a regular basis in my mind and in my actions to say, I remember one of the teachings, he was talking about how Jesus said, well, if you love your mother more than me, you love your child more than me, you love everybody more than me, then you can't follow me. So I kind of try to put in a scenario, what if he called me today and said, you know what, we got this set up, we're going east. Would I go? Would I leave it all? And I really tried in my mind to say, I'm going to go. I think I would go, but you never know until that time comes, but that's like a little test to see if you can really detach. Because for me, shoot, I slip, everything is so in that moment. Another teaching, and I don't have all the references, all I know is I play tapes all the time, and it's just like in me. But it was something, it may have been one from the spiritual laws, I'm not sure, but that at the moment that temptation is there, if you can just get in the moment, that's going to pass real quick, like I did do yesterday and ate a piece of cake. Okay, so you want, your mind is going to make you want to do that thing. So if it's going to make you want to attach and do something that you know from a parenting standpoint is not in line and certainly won't help that child, and at this point they're adults now, so for you, but I think if you can just, in the moment of this clinging, you got to ask yourself, well, what are you afraid of? They are going to leave you. They're not, we had a job to caretake for their soul. And I've been told that for the first 7 years, primarily as a mother. So I'm keeping that in my mind, because when the time comes, when it's time, maybe he needs to go with his father or whatever, trying to get there so I can do that. But if you try to keep this function in your mind of what you're there to do, and all that other stuff is clinging. We're clinging to some stuff that really, just like you said, it's not even real. It's not even real. It's such a memory and Maya that it's just.
It is, and I think because mine are going through this transition from teenage to being adult women now, and I'm trying to make them be 10 and 7 again. And I know that, like you were saying, some of the stuff that you did with your mom, my stuff is coming up for me through my kids, that they're doing to me that I'm seeing that I did to my parents. So I think that's
you know, what we do is we have, like the master says, we have concepts of how, you know, like we think about, am I detached? But if you are staying in the moment, if you're doing everything he tells you to do, you know, if you're staying in the moment with the staying in the process and following his instructions the way he tells us to do it, you're not thinking. If you are living on a moment-to-moment basis, you are letting go. You won't be attached. You don't want to wait. I mean, okay, I'll give an example. When in 1975, my first daughter would have been 5 months old, June 5th. She died June 1st. I wasn't initiated yet, but I had been introduced to the teachings. And it was a great opportunity for me to see the attachment, to see the impermanence, you know, of the body and all like that, right? But and I had an opportunity to become initiated, but I ran from that. And that was a consideration for me. It stayed with me, and then I forgot. I dropped it, and then my husband asked me to have another child for him, and onward thereafter, having more children, because I had 3 more children after that, and there was no father in the home. That father force wasn't present, so I overcompensated. I possessed and I obsessed, and up until January 31st. And so, you know, 13 years. And because I don't know what I would do if another one of my babies died. I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live with that guilt. And instead of learning the lesson the first time, I plunged right back in. And head first, clinging and holding on. And so now, you know, because I got 4 sons, 4 young black men in the city of Chicago, right? I mean, in this whole situation that came up recently, I'm going to save my youngest son from police brutality. Bullshit. You ain't going to save nothing. You know, he didn't move to Indiana with me. He was like, I'm violating my probation. And I'm like, damn, right? I mean, and a whole lot of other things happened with that, but the point is that, I mean, this whole thing, it was a blessing it was my righteous grace. It's like, finally, you know, now you got another opportunity to see this, you know, and to detach. I mean, really detach. And what detachment looks like is not a mental concept. It's not what you think. It ain't nothing like what you think it is. As a matter of fact, when you do what the master tell you to do, you know, upon seeing, and you don't even think about it. You know, literally learn to live on a moment-to-moment basis. You know, my sons call me in the middle of the night. That means somebody in jail, or somebody is hurt, or somebody that got shot. You know, I done went through all of that. And it's like, okay, so what you gonna do if the phone ring in the middle of the night? Shit, I deal with that when it happened. That's where it gets to, because when they get grown, they like, Mama, damn, you know, let me go. This is what they keep crying out to me. Mama, let me go. They saying let me go, and then they pick, Mama, would you loan me $20? And then when you fall into that, you clinging and you holding on. You don't know, I'm not giving you nothing. And stay in that process and do what the guru tells you to. If you do what the guru tells you to do, if you bypass or shut down the tendency to do what you want to do, you won't go wrong. If you do jihad, if you go to a war with your ego tendencies and shut them down, you
gonna be in this, you gonna be in the moment. But you gotta do it every moment. You can't take no break from it. And that's the thing that I saw. I mean, taking long breaks. Okay, that's over. But you don't want to do that because you do harm to yourself when you take breaks from the truth. You do serious harm to yourself. You wind up looking like me 23 years down the road, you know, and bones creaking and hard to sit and, you know, suffering, I mean, on every end. Damn, I didn't understand it. Wait, hold it. You got to do this thing. You know, don't waste no more time.
When I found out you never took a break in the first place. You always been just where you was anyway.
That's
now,
right.
You're gonna, you know, fool yourself and
That's
think
right.
you took a break. But you ain't took shit.
That's
you
right.
still in the same as you was
That's
when
right.
you was a little kid. And it's funny because we're adults and we expect our children to obey us. You know, we place these expectations that we couldn't accomplish on the kids, and we still fucking up and then want them to do right. You know what I'm saying? We lack the maturity. We don't even know how to do right. We still just like a 2-year-old. We do not have the maturity to even mind and do what Bhagwan tells us to do. And that is the bottom line. And I don't care how much y'all read in them books. All of that stuff don't mean a thing if you ain't doing or obeying what Bhagwan said. Now, he asked us to do a simple thing, and we cannot do it. And it's like I say, it trips me out because we want our kids to be this perfect child, but yet we ain't. You know, where was you at when you was fussing with him? Where was the, did you stop for a moment and think about you had a choice to either shut the fuck up or keep on going?
I did. And
you
I
know
said,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
I did. I was very conscious and I was very deliberate. Like I said, I chose to engage my ego and tell him, you disrespecting me. You know, and it wound up with him having a gun in his pocket, about to shoot my youngest son. That was my fault, okay? And I'm reminded, like you said, Master Bhagwan says, it takes a strong individual, a strong, mature individual to be obedient to the instructions of the Master.
And that's the bottom line.
You know, that ain't no punk that can do that. That's somebody that's strong and understand.
And as far as his detachment, I wanted my daughter to have a great life. I loved Tiff to death. I would walk water for her. But Tiff wanted her own life. I had to let her go. I had to let her enjoy some happiness. You know, that's being selfish. That's really selfish to even hold on that tight and not want them to even experience life. That's selfish.
That's right.
You know, I want that. Let her enjoy. And she's tripping now because I don't call her. Her and Matt having a great time. I'm not on the phone every minute trying to see what they're doing because I don't care. I really don't care.
Right.
She ain't, it's just like you said, you know, Bhagwan told me a long time ago, he said, you see Bharani Ra? There is no Bharani Ra. There's God disguised as Bharani Ra. He's living as Bharani Ra. This is what he's seeing, how Bharani Ra is. And in the long run, we are all God. He's having an experience in each and every individual. Well, it ain't even no individual. You know, we got individual names, but it's all God. And that is just the bottom line. It is all God. In disguise is me seeing what Bharani Ra is about, but it's God. It ain't. It just ain't me. It's so baffling sometimes to me because I'm like, okay, well, how can it be God? You know, and then but I'm learning. I'm seeing it a little bit. You know, I'm seeing it a little bit.
Right. Well, I got when and then Anuraj is next. I thought that I had let my sons go. Each time one of them graduated from high school and went to college, and I went through that detaching. I thought I was detaching. I wasn't letting go of nothing. Okay, they didn't live with me. But they were transient. My house is a transient hotel. Okay, they be gone 2 or 3 years, but they know, Mama got my back. She gonna come. Mama, will you pay my?
Mama, where you? Mama, 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 mama. I hadn't let nothing go just because they wasn't living in my house. You know, just because they got babies, and I got 9 grandkids, and ain't none of them married except the oldest one just recently said that he got married. I didn't witness it, I don't know. You know, but I'm saying, you know, this thing, you know, don't be fooled. You know, don't delude yourself. You know what I'm saying? I've had babies to die, husbands to die, and I'm clinging like a big dog. You know. Anuraj.
Yeah, I'm hearing this word, simple instructions being used. And on the contrary, it is the most difficult thing possible in the egoic condition. It's nothing simple about obedience in an egoic condition. It's virtually impossible in the egoic state. It's the lack of that. It's nothing simple. That's why it isn't being done. On the contrary, it's not those simple instructions. The ego do not want to obey. The ego wants to reject change. Reject it completely and totally. You don't want to change. That's why it keeps coming up.
Well,
At best, it could be temporary.
Well,
So it's really nothing simple about it in the state of egoity. It's the most complicated, it is that, of the ego to obey.
Okay. We're running out of time. And I'm sorry, did you want to address what Anuraj is saying?
I just had a question for me. It may relate, fall in line with what he's saying, though. Like for me, you know, my parents would say, don't touch the iron, it's hot. And I could concept it, but it didn't make sense until I got burnt by the iron. And sometimes I got burnt 3 or 4 times. So you gotta experience it for it to be real. And like I don't have kids, but I'm my mother's son. And so when my mother got sick, all the quality you said, the rent and whatever they needed, you was there, I had that same attachment. And it takes a lot out of you. But one thing that I learned after just realizing ain't nothing I could do anyway, and that I made myself sick, was I just gotta be okay, period. So if something going on good, cool. If it's going on bad, cool. You just gotta learn how to be okay.
That's
And that's
right.
it.
That's it.
You know, so that's my word. What, you know, that's
I just wanted to address something that Anuraj said, and that was, he said that it's not simple. And I would just like to be clear about that, because in reading the Sarbashan and the Dat to Live, Maharaji quotes that it is a simple path, and that they are simple instructions. And a lot of the considerations that Guru Sahib has given us, he says simple instructions. In his discourses, they say simple instructions. And so, I mean, if it's that virtually impossible, and it's not possible, then I would like that to be lined up with the Dharma to verify and validate that.
Well, I correct myself. Not impossible. Not,
we got to wrap.
not impossible.
We have to cut it
but
off.
Extremely difficult. Not impossible, but extremely difficult. And my condition.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, we have to cut it off. Raj thank you.
You brought down the. They didn't leave no time.